I had a very formative moment in my early teens, I think, when I went. You see, I went to what's called in England a grammar school. What would be called here would be a publicly financed magnet school for bright kids. It also connects, by the way, with my lingering interest in IQ. The only reason I got into the school was because I took an IQ test when I was 11 and did so well on the scores that I was eligible, even though it meant going to a high school that was about 15 miles away from my home, even though everybody in my class at elementary school was going to another school, even though it wrested me out of a very settled small town and a bunch of friends. It really opened my eyes to the world and gave me the chance to learn and to think and to grow in ways for which I will always be grateful. And the Labour government at the time decided that this kind of testing and this kind of support for able kids, especially from poor backgrounds, was elitist and inegalitarian and should be abolished. So they set about, despite the fact that my school was a public high school, as you would say, not a public school in the English sense, but a public high school, that in the year I actually entered at 11, got more places at Oxford and Cambridge than most of the hoity-toity private schools. And kids in my old school were from every background and class, including the poorest of the poor. The Labour government, the left, ended this because it believed that it was more important that no one be given a better chance than anybody else to learn at a higher level or reach their goals ahead of others. It was a sort of brutalizing form of state top-down egalitarianism, and I despised it. I despised the callousness with which it treated an independent institution. The school had been in operation since 1636, and they just shut it down, or they wanted to abolish it in the state system. I just found that kind of ideology and that desire to force certain outcomes on people to be inimical to me. And so when I saw them doing it to my own school, and what happened was that the school managed to raise enough money from its alums and its current parents and kids to keep going for a bit and to go private and allow me to go through without having to pay the money that my parents would not have been able to afford. But in the process, changed the school entirely, and it became much more like a private school. And increasingly over the years, kids of my background couldn't go there and can't go there now because it's too expensive. That's the triumph of the left. That and making sure that any industry anywhere was punished and any achievement anywhere was stigmatized, and in which unions and the collective ruled over the individual. That was a very early lesson in what I regard as the really horrifying arrogance of the worst aspects of the left. It made me a conservative.